when I was coaching a junior Bible quiz program in a small church in Dublin, Ohio. All right? And then the General Youth Division ended up turning it into a PDF document. And 101 Things to Do in a Quiz Practice is just that. Because coaches, I'm going to tell you this. If when you're coaching, all you do is have the kids sit down and read a quiz, they're going to burn out by March. All right? So we have got to find ways to organize quiz practice in such a way that it's fun and exciting and that we look forward to, but yet still we end up doing things that help them get better at Bible quizzing. So we talked about in the first session that the way we do quiz practice in our church is we have a big launch where everyone's together. Now, we combine our juniors and seniors together at our launch because we don't want the junior quizzers to think that senior quizzing is something that's like different or scary. We want them to know that it's just Bible quizzing and it's the same, and so we want that smooth transition from junior to intermediate, which is why we combine our practices. And so we don't want that drop-off that happens. There are some kids that once they're 11, they finish their last year of junior quizzing, and then they think, oh, I finished. No, now you're an intermediate quizzer. Now you're and so we launch our practice together. We have a devotion where we talk about the Word. We treat it like a church service. We've had young people get the Holy Ghost in these devotions. And so, but we talk about what the week's going to have. Now, I thought it might be nice for me to let my quizzers tell you what they do in our quiz practice. So the next 2 videos are going to be a little bit about what we do.
It was a lot of fun in that practice. I liked when we did the dodgeball and stuff. I liked them in the quizzes. The dodgeball, the dodgeball challenge.
Got to take a bucket of water and dump it on the boys. It was a lot of fun.
Probably my number one would be the scavenger hunt around the whole church. His cafeteria. I liked when we did the land animals and the balloons and fighting. I was like the escape rooms a lot. The bubble poop challenge. The bubble poop challenge was pretty fun. And the sword fighting. The mystery quest challenges were really fun.
I really enjoyed the quizzing, but other than that, my favorite has to be the sword battle. Which I don't know, it's just where I can be myself and enter into my character.
These are 2 18-year-olds.
I didn't win the championship this year, but maybe I'll come back another year. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. There was plenty of others. The paintings, the mystery quest that you mentioned.
Balloon animal making, that was really cool. I learned that I'm definitely not going to get into that as a career. Just wasn't natural for me, but that was cool just to be able to learn something like that. I think the water day was really cool. Those are definitely some things we should keep doing. And then I think the mystery quests that we went on, especially combining experience with beginners and teaching us how to communicate and work together with people of different ages.
This is our experienced quizzer. That's my 5-year-old son. He's the quiz master. It's a combined practice.
My favorite was when we went to the jail. Like, it was so fascinating and fun. It was a little scary.
It was fascinating. So cool things you gotta learn all day there.
This is when we rented out the jail.
A really cool was to see all the prisoners were, and like the service was great, and the stories of the guy that used to live there.
I didn't get to go to jail, but that one seemed pretty exciting. They had kids coming back saying that we want to go to jail after that. So it had to be fun.
I got stuck in the prison cell.
I'll do a couple of these. So we're going to wait on the second video. That was actually 2 years ago. That was what our quizzers said they liked about the year. So the cornerstone of every quiz practice is the actual Bible quizzing. We're doing real practice quizzes, all right? And in fact, I think that about 70% of your quiz practice should be buzzing in and answering questions because that's going to raise their Bible quizzing IQ more than anything else. But we also have to do fun stuff, all right? And so that is where drills and games come in. Now, a drill in Bible quizzing And this goes over a lot of drills. A drill is some activity that's also Bible quizzing related. So it might be locating one-time words that are taped on a wall where you have the verse reference in the word and you have to match. It's like a matching game with one-time words and verse references. A drill might be a quote around a circle where you have a ball and you quote a verse and you pass it to your teammate and you quote the next verse. There's so many drills that you can do in your quiz practice that essentially reinforce a learning concept in a game fashion, right? But then there's just activities, which is just fun stuff. It's team building. And ultimately, it's one of the things that our kids look back on and say that they love the most. Now, when our first season in Heath, I'm going to tell you this. This is our 4th year in Heath. Our first season in Heath, we had 11 teams sign up. I needed to train 22 coaches all at once. The coaches did not know exactly how to coach. And so what we ended up doing, our quiz ministry has looked different all 3 years since we've been there. The first quiz season, what we did was we had station-based quiz practices where we had about 8 stations set up throughout the building, and quizzers would rotate through. So you 3 would be a team, and you'd rotate through station to station. And one station might be a normal quiz, one station might be about contests, one station might be about quoting their verses, one station we called talk time, where for 7 minutes they got to talk to an adult about whatever was important in their life. So that they knew that there was at least going to be 7 minutes that week that they got to say anything they wanted to say. We had stations that were coloring stations and song stations. And so the quizzers were never sitting in one chair more than 8 minutes. And what we found is that when we did that, the kids had a blast. We started the year with 29 quizzers, and we finished the full year with 29 quizzers. We had a 100% retention rate of a brand new quiz ministry, 29 quizzers, full 8-month season. We didn't have many quizzing that first season. And all 29 finished because practice was a blast. They just came and had fun. Now, it took me like 4 hours to set up every quiz practice, and I was burning the candle on both ends, and it was not healthy at all. But you know what? The kids had a blast, and the retention rate was really high. But what we found is that when we did station-based practices in the first year, our quizzing IQ was very low. They actually were not very advanced when it came to interrupting and answering questions because, honestly, they only really got to do that for like 8 minutes at a time. And so they loved quizzing, but we didn't win a lot of tournaments. Now, they won a fair amount, but they didn't win a lot of tournaments because they didn't have enough of what should be the cornerstone, which is real quizzes. In fact, I think we have the only quiz ministry in America where at the end of the year, when we do our survey at the end of the year, what the quizzers said they wanted to do more of was just normal quizzes. They said, Brother Lotto, can we just do more normal quizzes? That was the most fun thing. And I'm like, really? You just want to, like when I was growing up in quizzing, that's all we did. Like we would show up to practice, we'd sit there with a buzzer in our hand, and for 2 hours we would buzz and answer questions. We became strong. But you know what? Those kids in my quiz ministry, they were asking me, Brother Lytle, please let us do more normal quizzes. So the next year we went to a more traditional style practice, but we had the coaches rotate rooms because we have like 6 homerooms where you have 2 teams per homeroom, and we had the coaches rotating through. And you know what we ended up finding out at the end of the second year, which is the year you just saw in the video, is that the kids, we did 70% normal quizzes, about 10 to 20% drills, which is like the reinforcing, and we did 10% fun activity. The kids still had a blast. I was still surviving at the end of the year because it only took me 1 hour to set up practice instead of 4 hours to set up for practice. And our quizzing IQ went up so much higher because 70% of what we're doing was normal quizzes. So we should make reading practice quizzes the biggest portion of our quiz practice, all right? But then all the other fun stuff is also something we have to focus on. So let's do the second video. This is a recap of our most recent season of this past year.
The big airport exam was awesome. Being able to do that little devotion there, I think was amazing, super powerful. That was an amazing trip. The paper airplanes, that was pretty fun. The ping pong ball, that was a good one too.
But with animals, I also really like doing the gingerbread house. That was fun. I would say dodgeball. Each of our team And what are the other three crosses?
They're all in one accord in one place.
And suddenly there came sound from heaven,
As of a rushing mighty wind.
and it filled all the house.
Very sick. And there appeared over them cloven tongues like as of fire.
And the sound like a trumpet. And they were all filled with the Holy Ghost.
And began to speak with other tongues as the Spirit gave them utterance.
So Peter said to them,
Repent and be baptized, every one of you, in the name of Jesus Christ.
For the remission of sins, and you shall receive the gift of the Holy Ghost.
For the promise is to you and to your children,
And to all that are far off.
and as many as the Lord our God shall call.
All right, so that was our kind of like what we did that year. Now, this past year, I told you what we did 2 years ago. The coaches rotated. This past year, we had the most traditional style practice that we've ever had. Now, once again, I come from a small church, but most years our church had one quiz program, or one quiz team, all right? But our church had a quiz team for 21 consecutive years in a small church. Because our pastor caught the vision that if you have a healthy Bible quiz ministry, Bible quizzing is going to end in the red every year. I'm sorry to say, pastors, Bible quizzing doesn't make the church any money, all right? You're going to end in the red a little bit every year. You can do some fundraisers to offset that. But what our pastor caught the vision is that it was going to raise the next generation of leaders in his church. And if you want to talk about finances, those people are going to become faithful tithe-paying members, and the church is actually going to be blessed in the long run. But when you have a healthy quiz ministry, you're going to raise the leadership. We have research that shows that 80% of Bible quizzers are involved in church leadership positions in their adulthood. You're not raising just pew sitters and normal saints. You're raising the pastors and the youth pastors and the Sunday school teachers and the missionaries and the evangelists and those individuals that are working behind the scenes. Because why? They have more confidence in their faith because they know how to put the word into action. And so whether you have one quiz team or you have 20 quiz teams, we ended up moving more to a traditional style practice this past year. So we still do a launch together. Then we do 70% normal quizzes. Then we do one fun activity. And then we come back and then we do our closing. Now, I just want to walk you through some of the stuff that we've had some success with. And you'll find some of this in the 101 Things document. But remember, that was written 15 years ago. Some of this stuff we've just done since the 3 years we've been in Heath. So we do Bible quizzing dodgeball. Bible quizzing dodgeball, you can do that with 3 quizzers. You can do that. If you have 3 quizzers, 2 quizzers are on one team, and a quizzer and a coach are on the other team, and you play dodgeball, right? Do it in a Sunday school class, wherever you want to do it. But Bible quizzing dodgeball is if you get hit with the ball, you have to quote 3 verses as fast as you can off on the side before you can get back in the game, and you win if you knock the whole team out before they can quote their verses and get back in. That's Bible quizzing dodgeball, right? That's it. We did something called Wayne's Fire Day, where we have a guy that's a bit of a pyro in our church. He just burns stuff. You know, we did volcanoes. We had a lady from our church donate those volcano kits that you see at the science store. She donated them. And then we have a guy that just likes to light stuff on fire. He's like a magician. And you know what? The kids, they didn't learn anything about Bible quizzing. And it only took 20 minutes of practice, and they're still talking about it because it's just something fun. We have Water Day, where we go outside. We have to wait until the end of the season because it's cold in Ohio until like late May. And so we have Fire Day or Water Day where they do the water pass challenge. They do squirt guns. We do bubble hula hoops and whatever it is. These are things that, you know, the kids already have squirt guns at home. We already have a lot of these tools. You have water, you have big buckets. And so we're just trying to get them outside, get them doing something fun. Now, one thing that we found is that it's easy to build excitement at the beginning of the year, but inevitably what happens almost every year is that in March, when the weather gets warmer, you get mid-season burnout. Y'all know what I'm talking about? That March comes and the quizzers have already been at it for sometimes 6 months at that point. And in March, it's hard to keep it going because they could play outside with their friends. They got other things they want to do. March is also when spring break happens at school. It's when Easter time. Church has got other stuff going on. So in March, we have something called Mystery Quest. Mystery Quest is a church-wide scavenger hunt that has riddles and puzzle boxes, and they basically have to solve a very complex riddle in quiz practice. And that's all we do. The whole quiz practice is the Mystery Quest. And they have to go through and they have to solve these mystery codexes and Da Vinci boxes and solve these things. And these are little puzzle boxes that I got on Amazon for like $19.99. On the video, when you saw them like doing those puzzle boxes and they talking about mystery quest, it's basically one big scavenger hunt. And you know how I wrote the scavenger hunt? I read each layer of the scavenger hunt. They have to solve a treasure map that's based on riddles. And I ended up having ChatGPT write all of the riddles for this scavenger hunt. All you do is you go on there and you type ChatGPT. I want to have 6 stations on this scavenger hunt. Create a rhyming scheme that's Bible themed from the book of John, and write me a 4 limerick rhyming scheme with a 2-4 rhyming scheme. And you know what? ChatGPT wrote my entire mystery quest in about 10 seconds. And so our quizzers, they go on this big journey. And so we match the older ones with the younger ones. We have 18-year-olds with the 6-year-olds. And they're basically running around the church everywhere they can go. They're solving these puzzles. They're doing these games. There's one station where they have to interrupt against a coach who has the material in their hand. There's other stations where they have to quote through their material in a certain amount of time, speed quote through the material. They have to go climb under pews, look for hidden clues, and then at the very end, there's a treasure chest with candy inside at the very end of the mystery quest. And our kids, now that we're in it, we've done it 3 years, they ask about mystery quest every year. Now, I'm going to put all of the mystery quest information on our website for download, clcheath.com/Bible quizzing. It's not up there right now, but Mystery Quest is a great way to get past the mid-season burnout. Also, attending an extravaganza is a great way to get past mid-season burnout, okay? What are some other things that we like to do? Have you all seen that there are coloring pages available for purchase on BQ Powers for the beginners? They actually have a coloring book page for every one of the verses. And they can use that coloring book in your beginner practice. That's a great thing to do. We have a painting day where I get a bunch of cheap canvases off Amazon and some acrylic paint, and they have to paint one of the Bible verses. And they love it. Well, the quizzers that love painting love it. We have talk time and quiz practice. I will say this, that one of the big changes we're going to make this year in our 4th year is our experienced division quizzers, although they like the fun stuff, what we found is that they actually love the spiritual side of quizzing more than our beginners do. And so our seniors, we're going to have them do the fun activity once or twice a month for the big stuff, like Wayne's Fire Day and Water Day, Mystery Quest. But then the other days of the week, each one of them is going to do a 5-minute devotion. And I'm telling you, they've had just outpourings of the Holy Ghost in their quiz practice when you have these teenagers sharing the word and doing devotion. So we're we're not going to do every activity every week. We're going to let the teenagers sometimes just do some of the fun stuff or the devotions and the spiritual stuff. What else? Balloon animals and balloon sword fighting. My side hobby is balloon animals. I like doing balloon animals. And so I teach the kids how to make balloon animals. We also do balloon sword fighting where they get to spar. That was what you saw in the video there. Toilet paper roll-up challenge. Have you done the mummy challenge where you just have to wrap somebody in toilet paper as fast as possible? Once again, very inexpensive, very fun, all right? It's a great thing for the kids to do. We have the tower build challenge where they have to work together as a team to build Legos as high as possible before it falls over, or build the mag tiles. Does anybody have the mag tiles at home? You know the magnet tiles? We had a young person build that to 9 feet high in quiz practice. So that is another way to, once again, it's team building. It's fun. It takes 5 to 10 minutes, but the kids look forward to it. Trust walk. Trust walk is where you get blindfolded and you have an obstacle course of chairs and you've got to have a teammate tell you, turn left, turn right, go forward. Trust walk, we've done that in practice almost every year. We have team name day. So if you happen to have more than one team in a single division, we don't call them 1 and 2. We don't say Heath 1 and Heath 2 because it's not fun to be Heath 2, right? So we have team name day where they get to pick their team name for the rest of the year. So this year we did colors. So there was like team Heath purple, Heath indigo, Heath blue. And we have team name day where they actually draw out their name card. They get to color it. They get to design it. Paper airplane challenge. So I went on the internet and I found these different like foldable layouts so you can build every type of paper airplane. And then we go out the balcony of one of our churches, and they launch the paper airplanes off the balcony, and the furthest one wins. They write their name on it so that we know which one's which. They get to choose which design, which of the 4 paper airplanes that they're going to build. And once again, these are things, the only cost is the cost of the paper. But the kids love it, and it's something fun for them to do. Let's see. Nerf wars. How many have Nerf guns at home? All right. Every boy here has Nerf guns at home. Do a Nerf gun practice where they have to complete a series of obstacles with the Nerf guns. That's when they were shooting the cups that were built up on the table, the Tower of Cups and all that. They were racing to do that. They had to jump through a hula hoop onto an air mattress and shoot the Nerf gun while they were jumping through the hula hoop. That was part of the Nerf gun challenge. That's another fun activity that we can do. That'll also be on. We have a try not to laugh challenge. Have you seen those try not to laugh videos where 2 dads are telling dad jokes to each other and the first one to laugh loses? We do that in our quiz practice, try not to laugh challenge, where they have to go home and for a week they have to prep their best jokes. And then they have to pair up with a partner, sit in front of their partner, and they have to tell the jokes, and the first one to laugh loses, all right? Try not to laugh challenge in quiz practice. Minute to win it games, there's dozens of them on the internet. Blindfold taste test challenge. So blindfold taste test challenge is the kids get blindfolded, and the coaches bring in a bunch of random foods that they have to try, and they see if they can guess what it is. We had blindfold food, blindfold drink, and blindfold candy this past year, and some of the coaches were like having them eat like good stuff, and some of the coaches were like taking advantage of the opportunity and having them eat like anchovies and pickle juice and all kinds of stuff. Bean boozled jelly beans. They had me try, did you know there's something called butter extract? They had me drink butter extract. First of all, my throat was like burned for like a week after that, all right? I don't know why butter extract exists. Why wouldn't you just use butter? Why does there need to be a butter extract? But they had us try that in our blindfold coaches taste test challenge. That's where the kids get revenge at the end of the year, and the coaches get blindfolded, and the kids bring in the foods, all right? That's a fun one. The bottle flip challenge. Bottle flip challenge is what it sounds like. Bottle flip challenge is where they just flip bottles. And you know what? Kids love flipping bottles. Y'all like flipping bottles? Okay. 4 out of 5 love flipping bottles. What we have them do is we get one of those little miniature water bottles. They have to flip that one. They take a step to the right. They flip a normal 12-ounce water bottle. They take another step. They have to flip a 2-liter bottle. We flip another one. They have to flip one of those humongous gallons of water. And they basically go through and they race the other person on the other side to see who can flip the 4 bottles the fastest. That's bottle flip challenge. And I think at least 3 kids said their favorite thing we did that year was a bottle flip challenge on the recap video there. And we can, field trips, all right? Now, I realize that we cannot always take a field trip every time that we can't take a field trip every practice. But we always do a launch field trip at the beginning of the year. That's where we did the jail 2 years ago. We did the Air Force Museum this past year. We're doing the Fall Farm this year. But sometimes getting off site is a great way to refresh your quizzers. And if it's April and you can tell they're burnt out, go to the local ice cream shop and have quiz practice at the ice cream shop. Have quiz practice at the coffee shop. Get off site and make it fresh and make it exciting, okay? Now, let's see. I'm going to take a break. I've thrown a lot at you. Questions so far on what to do in quiz practice? Questions? All right. So once we do our fun game and once we do our quizzes, one thing that we're incorporating this year is our interruption analyzer test, where we have one adult that's a volunteer that goes around and pulls the quizzers out of the quiz room and administers the interruption analyzer test, which is something we're going to go over in the next session on Interruption University. The interruption analyzer test is a 10-question color-coded test where the quizzers, you figure out how much they've mastered every type of interruption. And so that's something that you can't do as a group. It's a one-on-one activity. One parent, volunteer, one quizzer. And so you might have the coaches in the room doing a normal quiz. The interruption analyzer tester comes around, and they pull them out of the room in order to administer that test. You also can have individuals that, if a quizzer, maybe they need a little extra quoting support, maybe they didn't learn their verses that week, you could have one volunteer adult pull them out of the room in order to help them learn verses that day. Because if everybody there, if you have 4 quizzers and 2 of them are really strong on their material and 2 of them are not, only 2 quizzers are going to get something out of that quiz practice. You all have been a part of quiz ministries, if you've done this before, where you have a 3-person team and 1 quizzer buzzes in and answers all the questions, and 2 quizzers hardly ever buzz in, and they hardly get anything out of practice. So what if you had a volunteer from the church take that one really strong quizzer and go and dive deeper into high-level interruptions with the interruption analyzer test, and the other 2 quizzers get to do quizzes, just them 2, and if you separate out the quizzers, what we found is that there is a benefit in division. So separating out the really strong ones and the ones that aren't as strong helps raise the level, all right? You can't do that all practice long, but it's something that is helpful. And then what we do at the end of our quiz practices is big prize box and small prize box. We come back into the final room where everyone is, and we do any closing announcements, what the plan is that week. We give them back their binders that they brought to practice that has their homework assignments in it. And then before they leave the room, they get small prize box, which is just like dime candies or little toys that you find at the dollar store. And the kids, they love it. The small prize. And then the big prize box is every 5 assignments that you complete in your homework book. Every 5 lessons that you complete, you get a big prize box. So and if they learn their whole material in the course of a season, they can get big prize box 6 times, I believe. And that is like do you have a Five Below store? Is that like your $5 store? That's something. Or our teenagers, they get $5 to our local coffee shop. They really like that. You can get $5, Amazon cards or Apple cards or Google Play cards. And so they have something to look forward to in their memorization. Say, oh, I'm only 1 lesson away from getting big prize box. And that's the last thing we do before we send them out. And we start every practice with prayer, and we end every practice with prayer. All right? That's 101 things to do in a Bible quizzing practice. All right? But the cornerstone is reading questions, and that means you need to have a lot of practice questions. And the way that you buy practice questions is actually, you'll see that on BQU and IU. There we have a resource page that shows you question writers that you can purchase questions from. For our junior Bible quizzing, we get our questions from BQ Powers and from Summer Powell in Louisiana and from Austin Spann in Ohio. And in the seniors, we get our questions from BQ Powers, and we get them from Russ Fulbear's wife, Kim Fulbear, and also Philip Melder in Illinois. That's where we buy our questions from, because you got to have lots of questions in order to be able to read a lot throughout the whole course of a year. We also send the questions home with the parents so that the parents can ask the questions at home. That's in their binders, okay? All right, that's it. You did it. You made it. Questions for anybody? All right. Young people in front, what of the stuff I just talked about sounds the funnest? The mystery quest? Okay. All right. Well, let's do it, all right? And I'll put all the guides and all the resources on clcheath.com here within the next week or 2 so that everyone can have all this that I just mentioned, okay? All right, let's go ahead and take a break. We're going to take a bathroom break here, take 5 minutes, and then we're going to get started on session 3 in just a little bit. So the next sessions, in here we're going to go over Interruption University, the junior side. Buffy Oaks is going to do Interruption University, the senior side, and down in the senior room. And then